Hey all, it's Nim or Nimicree if you're feeling professional, and welcome to the YouTube video. Now today we're going to engage in wild speculation for buffs and nerfs for patch 10.2.5. So as of recording this tonight, World First Imidrisil has been cleared on Mythic. Congratulations to Echo. Liquid and Method also did very well as they were kind of neck and neck for that first kill. But Echo clinched the victory, so good job to you, Echo. Now, let's talk about what's getting buffed, what's getting nerfed. And this is, again, it's all speculation because I have no insider knowledge, so I might be right. Yay me. I might be wrong. If so, correct me in the comments when this happens. It's a fun time regardless. So I'm going to look at some of these specs. I'm going to explain my reasons as to why I think they are. I'm going to look at some things, and we'll see what happens. So first off, we're going to go with Unholy DK. Honestly, I think Unholy DK has a good chance of being buffed. It's kind of underrepresented. DKs actually were kind of underrepresented in the entire World First race, and Blizzard doesn't like to have too many specs that are either overrepresented or mandatory and underrepresented. If we remember all the way back in Nathria, and I guess all the way back, DKs, even badly performing DKs, were needed on Sire to Nathrius because of AMS was so good. They nerfed AMS, Anti-Magic Shell, or Zone, AMZ, I think, Anti-Magic Zone. Anyway, they nerfed it, and it still was good. Like, it still was one of the best cooldowns in the game, and you could stack it, and just, oh, it was fantastic. It was a useful thing. So, since we're there, let's move on to, let's do Frost. I think Frost is going to be left alone and forgotten. I don't think Frost is going to see any love. I think Frost is where they want it, and for better or for worse, that's just how it is, and I'm sorry to hear that. I have a friend who plays Unholy and Frost Frag, and you know, I want to see the Death Knights do well. Normally I'll see him play Unholy, and I think he does better at Unholy, but I do want to see Frost be a viable alternative. I don't want one spec to be far and away better, and that's the problem we have with our next set, which is definitely going to has a good chance of being buffed. I think it's Arms. Arms is a fun playstyle, but Single-Minded Fury has never really worked right compared to the raw DPS of two-handed weapons that Fury gets. It's a good ability, but I think that it needs more tactical prowess or more tactical benefits to bring in Arms Warrior. So, and the guild that I run with, we have so many warriors in our raid group. Cleavage is a prot warrior. Then we've got Genghis, Raspute, Shiv, Karapanza, and probably like one or two more that I'm just blanking on right now. Every warrior has Rallying Cry, from what I understand, and we have a rallying rotation. We are the most rallied raid group. And so I hope that they find a way to buff Single-Minded Fury, either to, you know, increase secondary stats, or to do something, or maybe extra damage procs, or something to make it compete with Fury. And speaking of which, I think I'm actually going to put Fury having a good chance of being nerfed. Fury is one of those classes that, you know, feast or famine, basically. You know, I think they're going to have a slight nerf to some of their abilities, self-healing, sustain, and damage, because, again, they're a fun class to play. They're not super, super complex, but they can be played at a high skill level. I learned a little bit of Fury Warrior, but I do know some people in the guild that play quite well as Fury Warriors, and they do good damage. I think that there's a good chance for Fury Warriors to be nerfed. I would love to see more class, or not say more spec-specific changes to class abilities. So, for example, like Rallying Cry, I think that while, you know, Arms is more tactical, I think it should maybe increase resource regeneration. Or while Fury, you know, is more, you know, hey, let's get in there. You know, not only Rallying Cry may also do, like, you can talent into, you know, 30 seconds of increased damage or something. I don't know, something. Flavor, because I like options. Now, obviously, people will sim and find out what the best one is, but it's cool to have the options and the idea here. All right, so let's move in next into, we're going to try, let's grab, where is it? Retribution Paladin. Okay, listen, Retribution Paladin, I think, is going to be left alone and forgotten. The reason why I think Retribution Paladin is going to be left alone and forgotten is we already received a massive rework in Dragonflight, and don't get me wrong, it was excellent. Retribution Paladin, what I mained for many years. You know, to take Avenging Wrath from 2 minutes to 1 minute to really pump our damage, it was great. I mean, we got to see all the PvP tiers, like, oh my god, we have to worry about Ret now. Oh, what are we going to do? And it's like, well, you were talking all that cash like 10 minutes ago, and then what happened? And then, some class dev at Blizzard was like, oh my god, we haven't developed the paladins since like Legion. It's quick, somebody get them something. And then they did, and they were like, all right, yeah, cool. And now, granted, we were a little overpowered that first like week, so they tuned it down a little bit, and everything was fine. I still think that we're in a good spot. A Retribution Paladin is a strong asset. We're performing in middle of the road. I'm looking over here on the other screen here, and I may throw this up on screen right now. Let's see here. Yeah, it says that we're C tier, which, I mean, I don't know, maybe, but it's probably going to be fine. So let's move on to our next one. I want to pick, I think that's, I'm going to go Beastmaster Hunter. Beastmaster Hunter is definitely getting nerfed, right? Beastmaster originally there was a bug where we were doing 25% more pet damage than intended. That was fixed. But Beastmaster is a fun class to play that's not difficult, that does a lot of damage, that doesn't have too much utility but can handle mechanics and can attack and move at the same time at range. Honestly, I imagine that we're gonna be nerfed, and I main a Beastmaster Hunter right now. I believe that we're gonna be nerfed, and that is a shame because I really like Beastmaster Hunter as it is. It's the first time I've actually played a Hunter, and I cleared Amidrasil, and we're like 5 of 9 heroic, and I'm playing as a Beastmaster. I parsed fairly well. Now, maybe some people say, "Oh, you can parse better." Like, sure, of course I can parse better, but it's still an idea. So let's move on. I think Beastmaster's getting nerfed because of that. It's too easy to play at a good level, do good damage without having to do anything. I honestly, these next two, we're going to go with Shadow Priest. I think it definitely has a good chance of being buffed. Because, Shadow Priests, like Boomkins, they're multi-dotters. And I want you to think about all the raid fights in Dragonflight, right? Think about all the raid fights in Dragonflight. How many of them are true, like, multi-dot fiestas? Okay, so you figure what? In Vault Incarnates, you got Aranog, single target. You've got Taros, single target. You've got Senarth, splash of ads here and there, but mostly single target. You can, snap to and cast. You've got Primal Council, which is absolutely not single target. Kurog Grim Totem, which you have occasional ads, and that can be good for single target, but for multi-dotting. But Kurog himself isn't able to really be attacked there, so you kind of miss out on that. You have Dathia, which has ads, big ads that spawn in her. So, I mean, they're there for a while. And you have Razgath. Razgath is mostly a single target fight, but there are some periods where there's priority ad switches. Then we go into Aberrus. Khazra, single target. Forgotten Experiment. We have, we start off as 2, and then they merge into 1. So, good multi-dot to single target. Then we go into Forgotten... not Forgotten Experiment. It was Amalgamation Chamber, and then Forgotten Experiments. Sorry, my bad. Forgotten Experiments, you fight one thing at a time. If you're on Mythic, you can fight 2 at a time. Still not great. Then we have the Zakali Assault, which is absolutely perfect for multi-dotting. And then we have Rashok, single target. Zakarn, single target with priority target change. Magmarax, single target. Neltharion, single target with priority change. And then Sark, single target, but also has priority change with the Null Glimmer ads. So, honestly, and then, of course, with Amidrasil, it's mostly single target as well. So I hope that they buff Shadow Priest's single target damage, because their main utility of being able to dot up various things and ramp up that is not useful. And the same, or as useful as it could be if there were a bunch of, council fights and things like that. But there's not, and I'm going to put Boomkin there as well. I think Boomkin has a good chance of getting buffed, just because when they bring back the Fated Raids, unless they decide to add in ad spawns all the time, it's going to be there. Now it's time for the first class that I think is absolutely going to be buffed, and that is Windwalker, right? I think Windwalker's going to be buffed. And you may ask, Nim, why do you think Windwalker's going to be buffed? Well, I think Windwalker is a spec that they've never really gotten down right, and I think that the easiest way to tune it to get people to play it is to just tune the numbers. Like, I personally loved the hit combo style Windwalker. I thought it was really cool because it fit the martial arts fantasy. But I was, again, I played mostly a paladin. I'm not super good at monks, but I like them. They're good. So I think Windwalker is going to be buffed. In addition, I think Affliction Lock is definitely gonna be buffed right now, because Affliction is suffering. Affliction is hurting. Pat your friendly neighborhood warlocks on the head and let them know that it's gonna be all right. Things will get better. But for now, Affliction, from what I've seen on charts, it's the bottom of the meters. And just because a spec, and I want to make this very clear, just because a spec is at the bottom of the meters doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that in the top percentile, the 95% parsing people, it parses the lowest. If you are a high parsing, well-geared Affliction Warlock playing against people who are not that great, you're going to top meters. So, just keep that in mind. Next, we're going to go on to, let's take a look at, we got Mistweaver, no, that's for healers and things like that. I want to do Survival Hunter. I think Survival Hunter is going to be left alone and forgotten. I think they're not going to bother with it because Beastmaster is getting all of the love. Survival is very viable right now, of course, but I think it's middle of the road, and I think it's going to be good. Now, to be fair, I've never actually played as a Survival Hunter. I've played as Beastmaster is the only way that I really know. But the thing is the tier set bonus is good for right now, and the melee nature is what makes it to where they're probably going to be like, okay, we'll leave it alone, because it's not ranged. So speaking of ranged, and I hope that this happens, there is a good chance of Marksman getting a buff, right? So my buddy North plays a Marksman Hunter. He likes to play Marksman. He's playing Beastmaster from time to time because Beastmaster just seems to do more damage, but he likes the Marksman rotation. I hope they buff Marksman, but we do have to remember that one of the reasons why they're kind of wary with buffing Marksman is because back in Shadowlands, I believe there was their legendary Nathria triggered twice and it went for like a whole patch without them realizing it. So Marksmen were absolutely wrecking damage, and it took them a while to fix it. Now they did eventually fix it, and sad day for Marksmen. They essentially got a nerf for something that wasn't their fault, but that is what it is. I mean, how are you going to stop it? So next we have Arcane Mage. I think Arcane Mage is going to be. Let's take a look here at our spec. Our mage specs here. I think Arcane Mage is going to have a good chance of being nerfed. While it's a very strong spec and can do a lot of damage with things. Honestly, I think it has a good chance of being nerfed. Mages are one of those classes, again, feast or famine. Either it's a really good time to be a mage, or it's like, you gotta really like it. And I think that with Amedrasil being a lot of single target. While Arcane is good and Fire is apparently performing better, I think they're gonna nerf Arcane. So let's move on to we'll do. I think that Frost Mage is gonna be buffed, right? I do. I think the Frost Mage is gonna be buffed because one Mage spec generally is doing well, but the reason why I think Frost Mage is gonna be buffed because it's not a direct damage proc, right? And you can kind of munch the way it works. You can munch your procs. And so there's a high degree of failure that could happen if you don't play correctly. Now, I played a mage in Battle of Dowsalor and a little bit here and there from that. I love the Glacial Spike cast. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Glacial Spike. It's one of the coolest spells. Comes through big icicles and slams into opponents. I love Glacial Spike. If anything, I hope they buff that or add a proc. Like, could you imagine an instant cast proc or a chance for an instant cast proc on Glacial Spike? Oh my god, like that would be fantastic. Like that's the best. That's literally the best. But that's a little powerful, it's a little wishing. I think they'll probably just buff damage percentages and tweak cooldowns. As that's the easiest way to do because it doesn't require a huge overwork and rework of the class, and that's generally reserved for in between expansions. So moving on, we've got our Devastation Evoker. Honestly, good chance of being nerfed. I think Devastation Evoker's doing pretty well right now. I think that they're gonna nerf it because we had our time in the sun as a Devastation Evoker with Nazaro, even though stats from what I understand weren't great. I think Devastation Evoker have a good chance of being nerfed while we're going into patch 10.2.5. Utility's strong. You can heal. You've got yourself a Bloodlust and a movement speed a movement cooldown reduction. So I think that's gonna be one thing. Another one I think is definitely gonna get nerfed is augmentation, because Blizzard does not know what to do with augmentation. It's a really cool idea, and I want them to expand on it. I think the real problem with augmentation is the fact that, one, there's a public perception that it's absolutely needed and it crushes everything. Don't get me wrong, there's times where it's really useful. It's never needed, but you having an augmentation evoker that's a good player and another good player, you can have a synergistic effect and move that forward. And that breaks balancing, because now it's not just one player's effort maximizing their class, it's two working in concert, and that tends to throw Blizzard's balance off. So I think augmentation's definitely getting the nerf for that. And that's a shame, because augmentation evokers are great people, and I love them for buffing people. And it's a cool playstyle. I wish there was more of it. Honestly, I think the Paladin should have one, because if we think back in vanilla, there was I would throw Wisdom on the boss and Blessing of Light, and I would judge and seal, and I'd do all these things. And then I'd throw some heals out too, but it was kind of like more a support off healer as opposed to direct healing. Now, I could direct heal, but it was enjoyable for that. So now let's take a look at our next one, which is going to be, let's see here, I forget what the actual icon is. I don't play rogues all that often. I think that's an outlaw rogue. So I think outlaw rogues are definitely getting nerfed. Rogues right now are really performing quite well, and I think that Blizzard wants to bring that down. Not anything crazy. I don't want to put them to the bottom of the barrel, but I definitely think they want to be brought down. So keep that in mind, because there are people I know right now re-rolling to rogues or working on rogue alts, and I think that it's going to be more a labor of love and less anything else. It's outlaw, so we'll go there. Let's move next to, we've got, I think that's Feral. Feral has a good chance of being left alone and forgotten. Blizzard does not know what to do with Feral. Blizzard has no idea what to do with Feral. They did rework a little while ago where they sped up Blood Talons, and I remember in Legion there was a bit of a rework. From what I remember, I was watching someone on Belluar, and he liked to play as a Feral, and it seemed to fix it, and that was good. And most players were like, okay, great, you fixed it. It's fun to play. Just leave it alone now. And very rarely is that an option, so just good to keep in mind there. Moving on, we have our Fire Mage. Fire Mage is good chance of being nerfed, because Fire Mage is currently performing the best of all the mages, and one mage spec will reign supreme among the mages. Now, the question is, will it be at the top, will it be at the middle, or will it be at the bottom? Some patches, mages are absolutely famished, and they're not able to really eat that DPS, and some, you are absolutely able to just wreck life. My favorite mage patch, of course, was Warlords of Draenor, because Hellfire Citadel, because with the Legendary Ring, there was this video of this Russian guild that killed Iron Reaver in 19 seconds. It was one Blood Death Knight, 19 Arcane Mages, and they just melted this thing. So one mage spec will reign supreme out of them, and I think it's going to be Frost. One of the reasons why Fire is always nerfed is that Fire has excellent ramp potential with Ignite, and in the hands of a skilled player, you will do amazing damage, especially if people keep things off you, if they don't stack on you with stuff, if they don't do other things. Honestly, I think it's going to be fine. Now, let's go to Enhancement. I think Enhancement has a good chance of being nerfed. Shamans, again, a lot of these classes, I know I use this phrase a lot, feast or famine. I think right now Enhancement Shamans are doing quite well. They do a lot of damage. And, Shamans are one of those classes, again, Blizzard doesn't really know what to do with them. And while they're very good and they're very strong, there'd probably be some tweaks around the edges. The only Shaman experience I have, honestly, is of Arresto. I've played a little bit of Arresto, and I think I did Elemental back in Legion for a little while, but it didn't take. I went back to my Paladin pretty quickly. So now we're on to Subtlety Rogue, and I think Subtlety Rogue has a good chance of getting nerfed. Again, we're dealing with all the rogue problems, all the poisons, everything that it can put out there. And I'm just looking over here at something else there. Where is my Subtlety Rogue? Here we are. So it's one of those things that, as you see, like, there's a difference between utility, use, and community perception. So utility is, I have Blessing of Freedom. Use is I have the ability to, I understand that I can use a freedom for something, and community perception is, oh, why did this person not do something? Rogues have a good community perception right now. They're doing a lot of damage. It backs it up. But with that, there's going to be calls, people to nerf things, or balancing, or the more players that play a class, the better the player population gets at that class, the easier it is to break certain mechanics, and WoW has to adjust for that. So I just want to, keep that in mind there as a subtlety rogue. Now, I think we'll finish up rogues with assassination. I think assassination is going to be left alone and forgotten. I think assassination will be the top rogue damage spec in 10.2.5 when they do the balancing patches. I think that because assassination is a lot of fun. It's pretty typical of the rogue archetype. If we look at the rogues in lore, Matthias Shaw, Elias Trilling, all those people, they're generally assassination rogues. So that's one of those. Let's go to Elemental Shaman. I think Elemental Shaman has a good chance of being buffed. I think it definitely is getting buffed. I think they're going to buff single target and AoE damage. I think they're going to keep the cooldowns the same, and I think that it's going to be the answer to enhancement, because enhancement right now, according to certain tier lists, is like an A tier thing. And I think enhancement and elemental are going to switch positions. Now, that being said, people love their enhancement shamans. People love their elemental shamans. They'll both still perform well, but I think that elemental has a definite chance of being buffed. Let's move on to a Demonology Warlock. Okay, Demonology Warlock, I think has a good chance of being buffed. Warlocks are in a bad spot. All three specs are kind of performing badly, but there is a big class fantasy to Demonology Warlock that the devs seem to like. Now, the question is, do they like it more than, say, Chaos Bolt and Destruction Warlocks? But it is always nice to be able to summon all of those demons, and it's quintessentially the Warlock. It's like, oh, these are my slaves, and they attack for me, and they burn things, and they interrupt, and they stun, and they charm, and they are insidious. I think that's good, but honestly, I hope the Warlocks are in good spots, because again, right now they're generally at the bottom of the DPS meter according to rankings, and that again, the ranking is for people playing at the highest level and a 95% parse. So, not really the average player. And I believe finally for my last, let's see, I think this is my last DPS slot. We have Destruction Warlock. I think Destruction Warlock's going to be left alone and forgotten. I think because they're going to be, according to this list, they're going to be buffing Affliction and have a good chance of buffing Destruction. I think, as for left alone and forgotten, there might be some very small tweaks around the edges, but they're going to basically be like, it's fine. We fixed a bug here. We did some tuning there, but nothing serious. Whereas, for example, Fury Warrior, Arcane Mage, Devastation Invoker, Fire Mage, Enhancement Shaman, and Subtlety Rogue are going to receive a nerf. And that might be that. And then, of course, definitely getting nerfed, we have our Beastmaster, our Aug, and our Outlaw Rogue. So, that was my list, guys. Looks like definitely getting buffed. We got Windwalker, Affliction Lock, Frost Mage, and Elemental Shaman. Good chance of getting buffed. We have the Unholy DK, Arms Warrior, Shadow Priest, Boomkin, Marksman, and Demonology. Left alone and forgotten. We've got our Frost Mage, Ret Paladin, Survival Hunter, Feral, Assassination, and Destruction. Good chance of getting nerfed. Fury, Arcane, Devastation, Fire Mage, Enhancement Shaman, and Subtlety Rogue. And, of course, definitely getting nerfed. Beastmaster, Augmentation, and Outlaw Rogue. Now, here's the thing. If you guys think that I'm wrong, I'm off somewhere, please let me know. Again, this is a speculation video, so I don't know exactly where it's going to be, and I don't play all of these classes, especially not at a high level. I can do Beastmaster, I can do some Mage, and I can do probably Paladin, right? But I don't play every class maxed. So, tell me if you have experience at these. Tell me if I'm wrong or what, and we'll go from there. This was a fun video to make. Look forward for one for heals, and look forward to one for tanks. My name was Nim, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and may the mount that you are farming drop on the first run of the content that it drops in. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.